Welcome, everybody. Today we have a very special guest, Iacopo. Welcome, brother. So
Thank
glad
you,
to have you
Jordan,
here.
for having me.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. And for everybody listen, we're going to have a really interesting conversation today. We're going to go through the journey over the last couple of months. We're going to talk about finding more alignment in business, attracting dream clients, and everything when it comes to mastering your mind, your emotions, your energy, and also how that affects your business as well, to find this alignment, to be able to live your truth, speak your truth, and also tapping into your masculine core when it comes to being more of a leader and everything related to that. We have a lot to cover. I'm excited to get into it, man. But firstly, how are you doing? Like, how's your week been so far?
Week has been amazing. We went live on YouTube yesterday like it was nothing. I think that was the first time we were not anxious about anything, and I feel like now we really feel like in charge of everything we're doing, and it doesn't really matter what happens. We are way more confident in what we're doing in any. It's not just business, man. It's like everything. It's like speaking with people, being comfortable about our opinions, and just owning it in general, and a general sense of calm for
Mm,
that. This is how
yeah,
I feel right now. This has been our week, and so I'm speaking from that point.
I love that, man. I love that. And there's so much that we've discussed throughout our time together as well. But I want to get into really, over the last couple of years, like you and Alessia, your wife, like built, a multi six-figure business and made this big pivot, and that's really kind of what led us to really meet in the first place. So, if you want to give a little bit of a background story around that, and just some of the key highlights over the last couple of years, that'd be awesome, just for more context as we go into the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, like you said, my wife and I, Alessia and I, we built a business around a YouTube channel that we launched in 2016. We didn't even know what launching meant at the time, and we'd spend the next probably 6 years growing an audience of adult dancers that wanted to learn ballet at home. That was our niche, right? Hobby niche, and we didn't even know how to create products and any of that. But in 6 years, we sort of grew a business around digital products, and we basically worked our fingers to the bones. And because the philosophy was, well, we have our 9 to 5, we want to replace our mainstream stream of income, so let's build something of our own. And because I didn't want to teach or get into anything that had to do with 3D or cinema, because that's where my background was, I said, Alessia, why don't we monetize you? Why don't we share what you know? And you are such a great ballet dancer professional for so many years. You're a great teacher. Let's see if there is an audience for that. And definitely there was. But um, we didn't know that we were building a prison for ourselves in a way. Amazing satisfactions, amazing experience. We learned everything from how to show up on camera, how to create products that people actually can benefit from and get results from, design them in a way that they're engaging, creating communities, creating website, landing pages, and all the things that go around an online business. But we never ask ourselves, what do we want our life to look like? And we completely disregarded that question for so many years that after 6 years, we found ourselves with a sort of a spaghetti monster of business with so many offers, different funnels, different promotions that we had to deliver every month in order for this machine to keep running. So I wasn't really questioning as like, this is what I signed up for. I'm gonna work hard until I drop dead, I guess. I never really questioned that. But Alessia, fortunately, she's very in a great connection with her emotions, and she's my spiritual guru in a way. So she started freaking out at some point, um, especially because we signed up for a mastermind with 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs back in 2021, if I remember well, because we wanted to know how to scale. And after a year, yes, we've improved things. It was great to have support, but at some point the question came, guys, how do we 2x our business? Because now we are running at capacity We can't do more than this. And the host of the mastermind said, guys, if you want double the output, you might need to triple or quadruple your input, meaning more videos, more more promotions, more obtains on an email list and all of that. I'm like, this is not the way. Like, this can't be the way. And from that point on, Alessia and I, we started discussing about what we're going to do. And since I wanted to build a personal brand, a coaching business about all of the things that we learned up until that point, building an online business, I needed to step up into a place where I need to own my craft now. I need to really own the fact that we cannot carry on like this forever, because Alessia cannot take it anymore. Even though I'm resisting this, like we've been fighting for years about finding a new way, and she was trying to push me to step into that place of leadership for what I said I wanted to do, but I couldn't quite figure out how to. Yes, I knew all of the techniques, all of the strategies, and all of the theory, but for some reason it wasn't working, wasn't clicking. And I think we arrived at culmination when we got in contact with you, Jordan, where I didn't even know what to ask you, because I'm like, this is how we feel. We're trying to do this, but nothing is working. We're butting heads. uh, what is going on here? Because I wasn't really aware of why I was doing what I was doing. Right. I don't know if that makes sense. And if anybody watching feels that way, I get it. You might know all the tricks in the books, but the way you feel really, now we realize, affects everything that we do in the physical world. And knowing what drives those actions, then we discovered, was the key to really changing things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's incredible, man. And it's like I tend to meet people, especially when it's like this transition phase that they're in, where it's like very similar to yourself, where it's like you know the tactical actions to take, there's a strategy in place, there's things to execute on, but you've been doing that for quite some time. And now it's like, well, what's if I already know what to do, I already know the direction, and what is it that's not really clicking? And I know that, yeah, we had a couple of sessions in the beginning where it was really just getting an understanding as to what it is that you want to build and why do you feel like you're doing it in the first place as well. And that was really the primary focus in those beginning stages, man. So yeah, it's really powerful. And also you mentioned there that, you know, Alessia is kind of like your spiritual guru, right? And I love that. And I just want to highlight that because that's the beauty of the combination of the masculine and the feminine energy that can be in a relationship to really empower you to move forward. And, you know, in those times where you are looking for that direction, because as men, we go through these transition phases, right? We're not always like perfectly executing and perfectly producing. Sometimes we need to go backwards into the darker parts, or the void, as we call it, where we tend to figure out, okay, what is my next move? What is the thing pulling me? And the feminine woman in our life then is the thing that's going to help us amplify and send us in that direction so that we can step into that role. So I think this is a nice way to kind of jump into what was it what was some of the biggest things for you when it came to just like stepping into that role, that leadership role, that masculine role, and cultivating more of that core within you? Obviously we had a lot of conversations around that, and I'm just curious to hear, like, what were some of the biggest breakthroughs around that specifically that helped you step into that role overall?
I just want to start with mentioning the fact that I had no idea about what masculine and feminine energy was at the time. Zero. So I just had feelings that I couldn't explain. And now with some perspective, I can say, Alessia, when I was going through the phase of I'm not sure what I'm doing and I'm not sure if thing is going to work, she was completely different with me and with everything we were doing. She were sort of more edgy, more direct, more harsh to talk to, and complaining about things. And I just thought, she's just annoying. But no, that wasn't the case. She were trying to pull from her masculine energy to carry the boat, to carry the situation, because I clearly wasn't doing that. And I realized that far down the line after working with you, but my first step into understanding all of this stuff was really taking a break. I remember taking a break of doing anything like content and also anything related to business for a good couple of weeks, which felt really stressful because I wasn't working. Like that's my natural state. I need to work to produce an outcome, right? If I'm not working, what am I doing? So just sitting and feeling that friction allowed my feelings to come up and really experience what I was asking the question, what is it going on? Why am I so attached to maybe the results that I'm after? Why am I so anxious about the future, a million step ahead of anything possible that can happen? So that was the first breakthrough, like realizing all of that was going on. And then uh, just by going through some your techniques of rebalancing events, this might be related to attachments, it might be related to whatever fear of shame I might feel, or uh, that sort of brought more attention to what is the flip side of the coin, because like you say, every event is neither good or bad, and your thoughts are just thoughts, and events are either projected into the future or connected to the past, and you choose what power give to what emotion connected to that thing. So I started realizing that there's no one coin, one face to the coin, there's both. So I started looking at both faces of each coins of my past, my future, my thoughts, and gained a sense of calmness, because once you stop focusing on one side only, you realize there is the other. Everything becomes lighter. So when I became lighter, my shoulder, the weight on my shoulders started lifting, and my mind sort of realized that, hey, I'm giving power to one side of the coin here. What else am I giving power to? So let's marinate, let's see. And this was a process for me to really uncovering boxes of things that I was attached to that weren't serving me. Um, and half of it happened in the back end, my subconscious, but the conscious work on it allowed this process to start. And that's when everything started changing. I started being more confident about my choices, more confident that the future is going to take care of me. Uh, we've been put on this earth for a reason. We don't know who and what. We can trust that this who and what can take care of us. Like this is just a simple thought that even if you're not religious, you can really resonate with. I did. So from that point on, it's been a momentum of even energy emanating from everything we were doing. I started really being less afraid of what was coming, being more clear in what I was doing. Like instead of being stuck for months in, oh, what is my niche? What kind of clients do I want? What is his name or her name? It's like, you know what? Let's analyze the market and go with an offer and see if it works. Like really direct and more confident about the actions that I would put every day. And when you feel like that, that becomes your identity. Like I felt like it didn't really matter what type of niche I wanted to go into. It was more like people were going to be attracted by the person that I am, because they would want to be more of who they are. That was my first breakthrough. And from that point on, my content started to change. The discussions that we had with people were on that kind of line, that kind of frequency, and people can feel that. We managed to close clients at events just by talking with that with 20 minutes, just because of how well we felt inside, how confident we felt with the values that we could offer. So it's been like a good couple of months of that. I couldn't quite pinpoint what was the one thing, but it was a cascade of things that allowed more openness to then again allow what was inside to shine through. I don't know if I can explain it better than this. Maybe I'll need to think about it, but this is how I felt and how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And you mentioned so many key things there as well. And I think one of the biggest things is that it's not just one thing. I mean, I wish it was. I wish it was that simple and we could really just give it away to everybody listening right now and say, hey, this is just one thing. And it's just not that simple sometimes. But it can be, like, I wouldn't say it can't be simple. It can be easy, but it's like a commitment to the journey. Because once you start to pull the thread, it starts to, like you said, open up all of these different things. And yeah, that can be a scary thing. That can be a thing where, okay, we got to face this. We got to go into this. We got to work through this. That requires time. And we got to be okay with the fact as men, when those things come up, it's actually a powerful move to go into that void, to go into that darkness, process through those things, work through them, and allow yourself to not be someone who needs to, like, feels the need to have to produce at every single moment of time. Because when we're constantly in production mode, we're not allowing ourselves to actually move through the energy that's there, right? That we may need to move through, whether that's dense emotions or certain things we need to face or accept or let go of. And when we actually give ourselves that time and understand that, we're a lot of the time we're programmed by the hustle culture out there to be able to constantly produce and constantly move forward, but you can't really produce from a place of power if you're constantly burning yourself out in that way. So when you go back, it's like this fine balance of you go back into the darkness to be able to come from a powerful place when you do serve, when you do show up for people. And even do, like, balancing that is something that when you cultivate that skill set, it allows you to increase your levels of energy, increase your levels of confidence within yourself, because you're letting go of all of the dense energy that may be there, just kind of holding you down. I like to describe it as, we can constantly keep pumping hot air into the hot air balloon, right? And we can wonder why it's not taking off, but all we really need to do is to cut the sandbags at the side. And then it just naturally takes off. We don't need to pump the air into it. So what you described there is incredible, because then what was the most amazing thing was that you started to see that translate into the content that you created, the people that were coming from that content. And it wasn't that you necessarily introduced this brand new strategy and this new hack that was able to get you there. It was the energy shifted in the content, in the conversations, on the calls, which allowed you to be able to attract, much better clients as well, that you wanted to really work with. So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, the magnetizing of dream clients, people who are more aligned, because you got clear on not only where you wanted to go, who you wanted to be, but cleared a lot of that energy that allowed that to just naturally rise to the surface. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I think that'll be really interesting for people.
Yeah, I mean, before I felt like I needed to find the perfect offer, the perfect funnel, the perfect messaging, and really you can get lost in that. And I definitely got lost in that process of trying to find the key, the solution to my fortune. And that's a very clever trap that the universe puts there for you. Um, Thankfully I fell into that trap, and I realized that I was following somebody else's guidelines. That was for me the key of that told me you are trying to replicate somebody else's process. And actually it's not just one, it's a combination of a million people that you idolize, and you don't even know there's no you in the equation, because I was just following the book, right? Do the perfect, and if you look at my YouTube channel, some of the videos are like following the book. There's a great intro, and then there's an engaging bit in the middle. There's a call to action that is cleverly put in between 2 points, and then at the end there is an end screen. All of that, sure, it's best practices that can work, but who's behind the camera, right? That's the most important thing. So I started by trusting myself more. I started asking the question, yes, but how would I create a video? Like, what if I didn't have any guides? What if the crazy idea, what if I trusted myself here, right? What would I do? What would it look like? What would I talk about? What am I passionate about? Because I was under the impression that I wasn't good enough. People would not care about what I have to say. And for that reason, nothing of what I was saying was resonating with anyone, because I wasn't really speaking my truth. I wasn't speaking from a place of really trusting my values. But when I had enough of it, I started doing things that were not by the book, at least not by anybody else's book. I started doing videos with less scripting, just bullet points that didn't get many views. Like I didn't grow YouTube more. Actually, I grew it less, but I was acquiring clients with the few views that I was getting because I realized, you know what, when I speak about something that I'm passionate about, people resonate with that because authenticity, it's very rare. And this is coming up in every sales call that I'm having, which by the way, I don't even do sales calls. Like the sales calls that I'm having, they're coaching calls. Basically, I like to serve people, and I don't even have to ask for the sale sometimes, just because they just say, okay, brilliant guys, how do we work together, and then you go from there. But when you speak your truth, when you're truly yourself, really forgetting about what everybody's saying, and that takes so much courage, because for me that was the anti me. Like I couldn't, not anti, like would be the opposite of what I would do before. There is no way I'm going to create something new, is work for somebody else. I'm going to do exactly the same and replicate the success, right? Success leaves clues, so let's follow the clues. I think it's good to know what the clues are, but at some point you need to forget about everything and really go with your guts and do something that is completely out of the box, which is you. I think that is the biggest realization I've had. Like now I don't really care about what anybody else is doing. And that when you start thinking that way, I don't even compare myself to anybody else because I have no idea what's in the back end. So that's a really reassuring feeling. It's like I'm doing my best. If people resonate with me, great. If they don't, that's okay. They're not ready. Maybe they're not for me. So now when I publish a video, I sort of forget about it instead of constantly checking my analytics to see if I gain more subscribers, more views. Sure, the numbers you can see, you can measure, they're a really good indication if somebody's actually watching. I'm not saying ignore them completely, but being obsessed like I was before, like checking my analytics every single minute just to see if there was some validation. Am I doing something right? Am I not? That spiral down wasn't healthy for me. I had to get out of it. So now is I'm more obsessed about how can I do something that I would really enjoy that would also serve our clients for free, paid, it doesn't matter. It's more like I've got energy, I know where to channel it now, and things will unfold. This was a really the challenge for me, because trusting that that's going to happen, nobody can tell you that. Nobody in the world can guarantee you that. That's the trick. You sort of have to guarantee it to yourself. And for me it was kind of like letting go of an old identity, because when you are attached to something, it means that you really uh, it keeps you safe in a way. So I had so much structure and beliefs that kept me safe. I knew what worked in the past, and really afraid of stepping into something that was unknown. But in that unknown, I found so much power that now I'm reprogramming my actions and the way I think as well, because I tasted what the unknown can do for my life, for my business, and I want more.
Yeah, I resonate so deeply with that. It's so funny because when we think about life and that uncertainty, it's really like being out in the ocean. You know, you're out in the ocean and the waves are hitting, and you're there and you're enjoying the water. I love going into the waves. And when you get hit by a big wave, right? Maybe you're out surfing, or maybe you're just in the water, and you kind of get pulled through the waves, and you're in that state of like you can't touch the ground, your eyes are closed, you don't really know what's going on, and you're spinning. That's kind of like what the uncertainty is like, right? And it can be a little bit scary, and obviously, we don't know what's going to happen next. But when we stop and we kind of find our bearings again, because we always do at some point, we kind of look up and we're like, wow, that was amazing, right?
Yes.
But in the time, it's like it's very uncertain, right? It can be scary at times. So it's the beautiful thing about life, is that the thing about uncertainty is that we crave it so much deeply, but we're just terrified of it. But when we actually step in and embrace it, it becomes this really powerful thing that actually ignites this fire within us to really love life. So I just want to highlight that. That's absolutely amazing. And what do you think were some of the biggest shifts for you in relation to, reducing attachment specifically? Because you mentioned there was a lot of things there that were identified early on as we kind of had more conversations and we were using some of the tranquil mind protocol, which is our tools to be able to dissolve these different things. I guess the best way to frame it would be, what would you say to someone who finds themselves attached to outcomes or attached to anything really, or being a certain way? How do you think about that now?
For me, it was trying to dig deeper into why I had this attachment. Well, the first step is realizing you're attached to something, which is a big barrier to begin with. But once you've passed that barrier, the second big one is understanding truly why. And when you go to the root of everything, like for example, if you're attached to, like I was, to an outcome in financially or a monetary outcome, like I need to get this amount of money per month, otherwise I'm worthless, right? I don't know, whatever that number is. Why is that? And the more you ask yourself why, the more crazy things come out, because you think it's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to make money so I'm going to be safe and secure. Yeah, but dig deeper than that. And have you been programmed to think that way? I don't know. Let's have a look. What do I think about money? What do I think about this very thing that I'm really holding on to? And then I personally discovered things that I didn't even know were there, especially when you're journaling. When I journal in the morning, freely, really letting my mind speak its mind, because you're not your mind. You think you are, but thoughts are coming to you. You're not inventing them. This is something that I realize as well. Then when you write something down that you didn't even know was there, you start wondering, what else is driving my actions and my beliefs? Let's dig deeper. And then when you realize that it feels like you haven't even had any say about your beliefs, and these beliefs are driving every action you do, you start sort of, for me, it's a relaxing feeling, because I'm like, great, it's not me, it's a programming. It's wherever came from. It might be from my family, from my past traumas. Trauma is everywhere. Like, if it doesn't have to be like war related PTSD. You can have PTSD for many things. um Money, for me, for example, I grew up in a family where money was always scarce. My parents got divorced and were always arguing about money. My dad worked 24/7. I don't remember seeing my dad much for the first years of my life, because he was doing night shifts at the hotel where he was working on. And we couldn't afford anything. But and we could afford something, but in my child mind, we couldn't, because even if even if the battery of the remote control of the TV ran out, it would take weeks before we replaced them. Like, this is how I felt when I grew up. Nothing was really available. And therefore, I realized I was trying to create a life to show my parents that a better life is possible. Doing what you love, earning enough money. But if you just go with the programming without asking yourself the question, why do I need the 10K amount, 20K amount, whatever your number is? You would be on the pursuit of more and more and more and more money, because that's a rule that your subconscious have installed within you. And I realized, because we had moments where we started having 30K months, 40K months. And I remember thinking back in those periods, I needed more. It was never enough. I was never so much so that Alessia started asking me, yeah, but when enough is enough, what do you have to do with the money? I didn't know. I didn't know. I was just, in following the rule that my subconscious installed, because of my beliefs that the more money you make, the less arguing you're gonna have, the more joy will come. But unfortunately, if you don't know that that's going on, there's no stop to that. So realizing that now is more like, okay, what is the life that I want to live? And how much money do I need for that? Also trusting that everything that will happen to us, good or bad, we're going to deal with it. Because in the past, we've had terrible things happen to us, well, not terrible, but we always come up on top because we're not idiots. When you put your mind into something, it's usually way easier than you think. And you start saying, okay, so if that thing happened and I reacted to it in a way that was then a positive thing for my life, many times happened something like that. Why do you believe that if, I don't know, if you don't hit that financial goal, you're not going to figure it out? You start asking yourself these questions, and these questions are growing your confidence because you answer in a way that, yeah, of course I would figure it out. Of course I'll find a way. We always found a way. And that for me was when you start, like, you stop this attachment to your beliefs and you realize that there is that power, that energy that you always had to figure things out. Then for me, again, it releases the weight on the shoulder, and you start seeing clearly. And when you see clearly, you can make better decisions. And from that point on, when you start seeing clearly, it's more like you've got haze on your sunglasses, and you clear them out, and you can finally look around and see, okay, well, which way do I go, left or right? Because I couldn't even see that there was two ways in front of me before. And that's when clarity kicks in, and then you start doing things that create momentum and really brings you toward the right direction, towards what you really want, because you're more aware of where you want to go and who you are as well.
Mhm. Yeah, man, I love that. Like that's the basis of everything that we do with things like the Tranquil Mind Protocol, which is just one of our main protocols when it comes to clearing dense emotions, attachments, everything that we're talking about here, so that we can see things clearly. We can actually see the
Yeah.
paths ahead. And it sounds so simple, but a lot of the time we're just not seeing things clearly. And we think that we are, but we're not. And then we think that that's the truth. And then that becomes an installed belief. And then that becomes a story in itself. So absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things for you as well, that I want to dive deeper into, is finding more alignment with what you want to do in this life, right? You've touched on it a couple of times, but what does you building the business that you want around the life that you want and that purpose really that you've been getting clearer and clearer on throughout our time together as well? What does that mean to you now, right? In terms of the direction where you're headed, the long term play, the next couple of months, like what does that really look like?
I felt like um, the change that we've gone through for the past 2 years, I didn't know that was what um, I was getting passionate about. And also going back to my money programming with my parents, like I started teaching people how to make money online because I wanted everyone to not stress about money the way I stressed about money when I was a child, because everybody deserves a family that share love, it doesn't share anxiety and stress. That's the core, right? But then translating that into a practical, actionable business niche, it's a different challenge. So when I started asking myself, what am I passionate about? And looking back, I was trying to sort of be very practical, and my offers were really in tune with how to do things. The more like how to create, I don't know, a YouTube channel and make money with it, or how to create a better offer, how to create a funnel that increases your ROI. But there's so many other people doing that, have been doing that forever, and you're just another guy that does that. So why are you different? So that wasn't working for me. But when I started talking about the things that I'm really passionate about, which was all of the things that we've done in the process of change, meaning for our main business, the dance business, we completely revolutionized everything that we were doing when we were more in line with what we wanted. So Alessia said, I cannot do a dance video every single week. It's been 8 years. I'm done. I said, great, let's stop doing that. Then I personally didn't want to do promotions every single month. That would take months to design, the team to deploy them and create them, put them in place. We have to manage the team. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. And I don't want to do less of that. I don't want to do any of that. So when you start, I call them standards and boundaries. When you start putting standards, like, I don't want to live like that, that's my standard, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. And I want boundaries, whether I don't want to do, I don't know, a video a week anymore, I don't want to manage a team. Your brain starts thinking, right, okay, I need to find a better way. And you find a better way because your brain is an incredible tool. Then when you give him rules and boundaries and standards, it would activate and find a way. Crazy, huh? Yeah, we had to discover that. So, but when you go through that process, I wasn't realizing that we really were changing identity. Because when you trust that you can do something, your identity shifts. And what you think about yourself evolves, right? That I was really passionate about. Like, how can I make people change their identity, their perspective, for them then to apply and implement all the things that they say they want to do? Because we all want the same thing. We want freedom, we want money, but we also get stuck into what we're supposed to do. And now it's really liberating to working with new clients that are making a lot of money, but they're imprisoned into a business they designed by their programming. Like, their father was working like crazy when they were a child. Now they're working like crazy because they were maybe despising the rich people, like the people that are lazy, right? And so if you think that laziness is bad, you're gonna find ways for you to be busy all the time. You'll suffer because of it, but because you still want the love from your father for your mother, that's the programming that's running you. So we are really now able to see this kind of stuff and coach people through that process to simplify their business in order to make the money that they want, sure, but also the life that they signed up for, having more free time and not doing things by the book, but realizing they have their own book, they just need to start writing it. And that's when we realized, when we speak about this stuff, I just come alive, like, because I want people to be happy. Like, I'm really enjoying the process of seeing them realize that and implement that when I jump on coaching calls with people, I'm not stressed at all. I could do that all day, almost. So yeah, sure, it's all about, at the end of the day, marketing and business and sales, if you really want to be analytic like that. But I don't really talk about that stuff. That's what people think they need. But what they really, that's what they want. What they really need is permission to do things differently. And that's what we provide. And we're really happy about it. Um, we're still figuring things out. We're not masters of anything. But I'm trusting now that I don't want to model anyone else. I want to really follow this deep feeling of trust into what we can do to serve our clients in the best way, but as well keep designing a life for ourselves that allows this energy to stay high. Because I don't want to burn out again. So now my standards and boundaries are really firm. I know where they are, and I'm keep evolving based on how I feel, because if your business should evolve with you. So that's now where we sit at the moment. And Alessia, she's not the Alessia that I saw 4 months ago. She's way more relaxed. She's happier. She's more giggly, more feminine, and she's allowing herself to explore different paths as well. Because now I'm sort of taking over this business, and I want her in, and she's coming back in with her feminine energy, which is amazing to see. But because I'm pretty much doing everything in terms of like the videos, the editing, the publishing, the thing, because it's very easy the way I designed it. She's got space and time to see, okay, but what do I want to do in my life? What is I'm really, really passionate about? And I love to see her having time to explore that as well. So as a couple, we've improved everything as well in terms of our relationship. So it's not just the business side of things; is everything, because it's the core of who you are that affects your health, your financial situation, and your relationships. Actually, I didn't tell you this, but for the past probably month or so, I've had so many people that live around me, random people, that told me, "You are you taller? Have you have you changed? You've really changed. Like when you guys came here in 2020, you really had a massive transformation. I don't know what it is. Like, are you more confident or something? What is different with you?" I kept hearing this for like weeks now, and really made me notice. So thanks, Jordan. Cheers.
Cheers to that. It's interesting. It's so interesting, and it's all energetic, because when you make these internal shifts, which that was such a great share, by the way, because it's something that I like. I've experienced it in my own life as well, and people have said that to me too, just from being on their own internal journey. But your aura changes, your energy changes, how people perceive you changes, and that, yeah, it's the things that you may not be able to see physically, but it'll start to affect all of these different areas in your life where people will just say, there's just something about him. He just moves differently. There's something, I don't know. I don't necessarily know what it is, but their subconscious is picking up on it because as human beings, we're trained to pick up on these things of things like energy, like so we can keep ourselves safe. So that we know that if we feel a certain energy towards somebody or from somebody, we know that maybe we should stay away from that person, or maybe we should go closer to that person. And when we look at things like client attraction, like there's strategies you can implement, but client attraction is energetic. It's like, are people genuinely attracted to you and the fact that you're on your mission, you're driven, you're clear on where you're going, you're there to lead people, you're there to serve people, you're coming from a place of love and compassion and excitement for what you're doing. Like, I don't know about you, but I want to be around that energy, which is what
Exactly.
client attraction really is. It's a classic one of like, I'm trying to attract more clients, but I'm really stressed out of my mind, and I need to sign clients this week. And if I don't sign clients this week, I won't be able to pay the bills. And it's just this aura of stress that comes from not only just the situation right now, but things that may have been happening in the past, and everything that you mentioned there as well. And then we're asking people to be like, okay, well, I'm really stressed out, and I want to, do all these things. Do you want to come hang out with me so you can, we can both be stressed together? It's like, no, people don't
Exactly.
want that. So it's all energetic, man. It really is, and it's been so amazing to see your journey with this and how it has affected your relationship as well. Because what you mentioned there is so key for all the guys listening as well. Because when we, as men, get that clarity, have that certainty, that confidence and clarity within ourselves from the work that we've been doing internally and the direction that we find through our compass in life, we show up from a different place. We're congruent with our masculine core. And when we do that, we allow our woman to step into her feminine. And we have a nice balance of the masculine and the feminine, that energy that is so beautiful to be around. And that's only allowed to really happen and flourish when we choose that direction as men. And that can take some time. And that requires doing some inner work, doing some work on your mind, your emotions, processing through things, and also being that leader, that producer that comes with everything after the internal work. And as you go in and out of the void and into the darkness and into the light, it's just this balance that we have, right? We go from being a yogi, but also being a warrior. And we can balance that. And our woman sees that. And when that works in alignment with our business, then we're in this kind of nice ebb and flow of like, we can see how her feminine energy, her spirituality feeds us, inspires us to be able to go out into the world and to be excited about the vision and the business and the life that we're building. And I think that there's nothing more beautiful in life. So, dude, it's been so cool to see that, like, overall. Is there anything else that kind of is really coming to mind for you that you'd like to share that you feel would be a breakthrough for you that may be beneficial for people listening based on where they're at, just the conversation and how it's been going so far? Is there anything else that's been coming to mind? I'm curious more than anything else.
Um, so the main shift for me was coming from being very analytical and logical by design in a way, approaching energy and aura and all these words was very weird, awkward, and because they're not tangible, and when you share your story, you can't really get a grasp on what really it is. It's not like just have an opt-in page and have a product on a thank you page and people will buy that. Like that's something that I can do today. It's easy to understand. But when you say to somebody trust yourself, it's it's not it's a domain we don't have so much control on. So what I would suggest anyone would be, if you are anything like me, um, entertain the possibilities of something that you don't know yet, and allow the investigation, even if it sounds crazy. That is incredibly beneficial because I wasn't allowing myself to do that. For example, just to give you something a bit more practical, when we were designing our ideal life, my wife and I, her because being a woman, she can dream big with no boundaries whatsoever, and I was sitting there with my structured brain thinking about, yeah, but how are you going to achieve that? Like, I don't believe in fairy tales. I think that's one of the worst thing that I told her. But if you really gave it a chance to this unknown force, and you start saying, you know what, I'm going to try and think about my dreams, like anything is possible, just allow that. For me, it was a revelation because your mind starts opening up. And if you can forget about the how, it's like, I don't want to do mindset work, is useless. Okay, forget about the practical ROI of that, and just, take it as a game. Like, let's see what I discover. Maybe I won't discover anything, but if I discover something, great, fantastic. That makes it way more approachable for your critical mind, because until the voice in your head said, all right, let's try it, you won't take anything in. This was for me my experience, and that is the first trap, unfortunately, of our mind. We think we know everything already, just because your mind wants to keep you safe, wants to stay where you are, because evolution might be counterproductive. You might find that there is a pitfall 2 steps ahead, right? It's trying to save you from that. But being aware of this, what saved me, and saying, I'm going to trust that if I take a couple of steps forwards without knowing what there is, it's going to be all right. Figure it out. And if I don't learn anything, I know where I can stand back. That is, for me, one of the best suggestion I could give, just to trust that you don't know everything. Thankfully, otherwise, how boring life would be, right? And entertain the fact that there is another side of reality, the side that it's invisible and it's full of energy, relationships, and power that you have no idea you have at your disposal, through breathing, physiology, and just that tangible electricity that you gain when you just trust yourself and you start believing that you've got values, you've got good ideas, and when you act on those and where you are in line with those, things just happen, and the things you want, when you're not attached to them, you get them. It's all backwards. It's logically, it makes no sense, and that's why it's fun, and you should try it.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, that's it. It's just keeping an open mind with these things. Absolutely. Because I, even for the work that I do now, like everything that we've been working on, like obviously I went through a phase of being skeptical about things as well. I came from an agency background as well, constantly producing, constantly, but I was always fascinated about the mind. I was always curious about spirituality. And I think when you just allow those things into your life to come to you in whatever way they're meant to come to you and not forcing it, just allowing it, I think it's really powerful, like you mentioned. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff, man. And I guess if somebody was because you touched on it already, but if somebody was on the fence, right? If like, let's say, okay, someone's jumping in, they're going to keep an open mind, but they've been kind of facing a roadblock similar to yourself, and they have the capacity to really produce and really show up and really build, but they know that there's more in the tank. They know that there's probably a part of their life that they haven't really experienced or seen, and maybe that could be affecting their relationships, their health, just their overall perspective on life and how they view themselves. And then that trickles into like their business or anything that they're really focused on working on. What advice would you give to that person in terms of internal mastery? Like, what would you say to them?
If they're on the fence, it means that they don't believe that there's internal mastery to be mastered. And I would highly recommend you go and fail on all of the things that you know they might work as soon as possible, so that you can prove to yourself that that's not it. And this is what I did. So that's why I'm suggesting that. Because your if your mind is so strong, you've got to demolish it with evidence that definitely it's not working and you need help. Once you've done that, welcome back. Call Jordan and he'll show you the way.
Welcome back. I love that. Well, man, it's been such a pleasure working with you. You've been an incredible client. Like, just I know our relationship was great throughout the whole time as well. Consider you a great friend now as well. We're going to catch up sometime next year in Italy, hopefully as well at that
Yay,
event. We'll
let's
talk a
make
little
it
bit more
happen.
about that. Let's make it happen, man. Super excited for that, and really excited to check out Italy as well and just hang out more than anything else, because that'll be like, I love Italy, I love Europe. I'm from Ireland as well, obviously, so spend some time around that part of the world, and I can't wait to get back there. So, dude, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for just sharing your journey, being authentic, being you, really showing up as the powerful man that you are, and not only in your business but for your wife as well, and really leading from the front. It's been incredible to see. I'm so proud of you, and dude, I just can't wait to see what unfolds for you in this next chapter of life and business. So, dude, sending you so much love. Thanks for so much for coming on.
So much love, Jordan. Thanks again for everything you've done and you're doing for everybody else. We love you, man.